Hello friends, a lot many ICSE students and their parents have been writing to me asking me on what basis they should opt for either option 1 or option 2. So this is a video aimed primarily at parents and of course at students in case you have not yet filled the form. Okay. Now point number 1, the decision that you have made so far in case you have already filled the form is an uninformed decision. I repeat, uninformed decision, because the Bombay High Court had clearly said that parents and students need to take an informed decision and the council should make public its methodology, how it would evaluate the pre-board marks for those students who choose option 2. So the council said that they would make it public either by Saturday or latest by Monday the 22nd of June, right? So if schools have compelled the students and parents to sign on the form saying option 1 or option 2 without you knowing the methodology, it is not quite the right thing to do, because in that case the council may well not have extended the deadline by another 2 days to the 24th of June, right? Now point number 2, the bigger question, how do you assess which option to choose, right? Now there have been many students and parents who have sent me their marks, right? The marks that they have got in the remaining 4 pending examinations. I have replied to many parents and students. There may be many I have not been able to reply, so my apologies for the same. Excuse me, which is precisely why I am putting out this video. Now here what I would say is every child and especially every parent should be aware of what I call the risk factor, right? And take into account how much is really there to gain, right? Gain in terms of marks, gain in terms of the name that you get as a result of getting that many more marks, gain as a result of the prestige factor both in school, in the neighborhood, within family, within extended family, and generally, in society. Parents should not keep telling the child, oh, I wish you had studied during the pre-boards. I wish you did not waste your time during the month of January 2020 when these pre-board examinations were taking place, because then you are making the child feel that for my parents, these board examination marks are very important, and therefore it puts an indirect kind of pressure on the child, almost mentally preparing the child that he or she should go and take the examinations in July 2020. My humble suggestion to parents would be, don't do that. There are many children who are actually writing to me saying that my parents are actually putting a lot of pressure on me to go in for option 1. Because remember, during net practice, even Virat Kohli does not have the kind of intensity that he has when he's actually playing in the middle of the ground, right? There is always a big difference. Here also I want to point out another major factor, that the situation is different in different cities. Students in say cities in Kerala like Kochi, Calicut, Thiruvananthapuram, or in Karnataka like Bengaluru, they seem to be more open to writing the examinations because the situation there is marginally better. I'm not saying it's completely okay. It's marginally better than the kind of number of cases that we are seeing from cities like Chennai, Mumbai, or Delhi, right? So, and also let me make this caveat, this is based largely on anecdotes, not on any data. The fact that students in a city like Bengaluru or Cochin seem to be more open to choose option 1. Now, let's look at different situation. Situation number 1, and this is what parents need to sit down with their child and assess. If your child has scored in the 70s out of 80 in the pre-board examination marks, out of the 3 to 4 subjects still pending, my suggestion would be, and you're free to take it or leave it, my suggestion is better not to take the risk of sitting in a corona environment kind of situation, traveling to the exam center, mingling with many other people, sitting in the examination center, traveling back for at least 3 to 4 days. Don't be bothered about the fact that, oh, in pre-board examinations he got 72 on 80, he has a good chance of making it into a 78 on 80, right? Those 6 marks that you may be actually angling for, looking at, may not really be worth the risk that you are putting your child through. So my advice is don't do that. In fact, I just now got a comment from a child which actually kind of amused me. He had scored 79 on 80 in geography, 78 on 80 in biology, and 99 in the group 3 elective subject. But his teacher has told him that there is yet another student who has got full marks, that is 80 on 80, 80 on 80, and 100 on 100 in the same 3 subjects. So that student is likely to be the school topper, and you who are normally the school topper may have to be content with the second position. My dear teachers, please do not throw your students into this kind of a rat race, especially at a time like this, especially when we are going through very difficult times. Would you really want your children to take a risk for those 1 or 2 marks or for that first or second position in school? I don't think it's really worth taking this kind of a risk. In fact, I also got an audio recording of a teacher during a Zoom session, and this is from a school in Lucknow, I am told. Listen to this, because the teacher is actually asking in a rather confrontationist tone, which I think is very undesirable. And she's asking, if everyone who gets infected, does he or she die? Just listen to this.
जिसको कोरोना हो जा रहा है वो सब चले ही जा रहे हैं क्या दुनिया? कैसे सपोज जैसे मान ले बेटा, कहीं पॉजिटिव अप्रोच भी रखो, बहुत सारे ठीक भी हुए.
Now let's look at situation number 2, right? This is about students who may have scored in the 50s or the 60s out of 80 in the pre-board examination marks. Now, immediately don't jump to the conclusion that these students, my children, because he scored only 57 on 80, he needs to go and take the examination. You need to bring in another factor, and you need to answer 3 questions. 1. Has your child's class 11 admission been secured? If your answer is yes, you could choose option 2 and not option 1. Second question. If he or she takes the examination, how many more marks, realistically speaking, can he or she increase the marks by? Because at the end of the day, every parent knows what their child is made of, how much realistic potential does a child have. Because some children, for instance, are very good in biology, they may not be very great in geography. They may be very good in languages, they may not be very good in computer applications, right? Every child is different, every child's aptitude is different, right? So looking at his previous examination marks, you would get a fair idea about how much can he increase that 57 on 80 by, right? So you need to answer that question. Also remember, and this is the third part, please bear in mind that the child will not have the kind of momentum that he or she had in the month of March, right? 3 months have passed. The children are generally in a class 11 syllabus kind of a mold. To go back to the same chapters on mineral resources and natural resources and vegetation and climate, etc., and biology, circulatory system, nervous system, etc., is a little difficult. The momentum is not there. And this entire uncertainty over examinations, whether it will take place or not take place, also does not really help matter. So if the admission is taken care of and he or she may move from a 57 on 80 to maximum of a 62 or a 64 on 80, you need to take a call on what is more important to you, right? Safety or those extra 6 to 8 marks, right? Situation number 3. And this is important because there are many students who missed 1 or 2 of their pre-board examinations, and schools, for some bizarre reason, are not willing to be flexible. They are not saying that, okay, if you missed out on this subject pre-board examination, we will take into account your marks during your half-yearly examination which you gave in the month of December. It should be done so, according to me. Marking them 0 is, according to me, a very negative attitude and very undesirable. So my request to all the school managements would be to be a little more understanding vis-a-vis those students. Okay, if you ask my opinion, only such students, and I hate saying this, only such students may just need to take the examinations, because at the end of the day, if your school is marking you as 0 in that pre-board examination, you may end up being marked as fail in the final examination, because obviously there will be no pre-board examination marks to factor in for the council. If your school has been considerate, you can afford to give it the skip. So the situation number 3 is the only dicey kind of situation in my view, right? Now, many of you have been asking about the methodology which the council could adopt. In fact, I had done a video in which I had quoted Mr. Arvind Tiwari's suggestion about the dynamic progression method, which in a nutshell essentially means compare the board examination marks of the papers that you have given in the month of February, March, compare it with the pre-board examination marks of the same subject, that is match board paper marks with the match pre-board paper marks, because the council has asked for all the paper marks, right? Physics pre-board marks papers compared with the actual marks secured in the board examinations. Work out the percentage increase and then apply that percentage increase to these 4 pending examinations. Increase that, for instance, if the average increase of a particular student is, let's say, 9 marks, okay, average of the first 6 or 7 papers that you have given, your 57 on 80 that I quoted as an example earlier could get added and it could become 66 on 80, say in biology, geography, Hindi, computer application, physical education, whichever papers you still have left. That is one method that could be considered. But there are some other alternate methods also being worked out. I got to know from 2 sources, but I will not want to go public with those kind of methodology which is being worked out, because I am not really sure about the reliability of the sources and I frankly don't want to do any kind of tukkebazi out here. Okay, so let the council come out with the final formula, and then if you wish to change, you got to put pressure on your school management to allow you to change should you feel the need for a change at that point in time, because that's precisely why the deadline was extended from 22nd of June to 24th of June, right? Because remember, and schools need to remember that schools are not playing fastest finger first here. We are not on Kaun Banega Crorepati. Schools have time till the noon of 24th June to upload the options chosen by their students, right? Also remember, this methodology also has to be approved by the Bombay High Court. It's not as though the council will come up with anything and the Bombay High Court will say, okay, done, go ahead. No, it will be subject to the objections which will be raised by the petitioner, Mr. Arvind Tiwari. What does the Maharashtra government say? Of course, they will not comment on the methodology, but the High Court will definitely have a discussion on this on Monday, the 22nd of June. And also another point, I have a few of my apprehensions about the honesty quotient that many schools will or will not have, whether all schools will indeed send or would have sent by the 14th of June the correct pre-board marks, and does the council have any way of cross-checking if the marks are indeed correctly uploaded or not. Okay. Finally, what happens in the Supreme Court in the CBSE case on the 23rd of June will also make a difference, right? Because there is public pressure, there is political pressure, there is pressure from the states like Delhi and Maharashtra which have spoken against the conduct of the CBSE class 12 board examinations. Also, the Maharashtra government has come on record in court saying that if too many children opt for taking the examination, then it won't give permission. So it's a very strange kind of situation. If less number of children opt to appear for the examinations in July, then the Maharashtra government may actually allow. But if there are more children, it will not allow. So the whole thing goes into a bit of a tailspin if that happens. So, there are too many ifs and buts playing out in the public domain. The council itself has said on record saying that if exams are not held in 2020 July, they will automatically shift to option 2, that is bring in the pre-board marks. But again, as I said in the last video yesterday, there is also the question of whether taking the average marks of the first 6 to 7 papers and then applying the same average to the pending papers would be a more let's say a better option, an easier option to actually implement on paper. So the last word has not been said by the council. The council may bring it out on Saturday or on Monday. So wait for that. But this video I wanted to put out specifically for parents so that they can sit with the child and decide 1 or 2, right? So all the best to you. God bless you. Make an informed choice. That's very important. All of us should always know what we are getting into. That's very important. You don't get into, unless you are going into one of those fancy bhoot banglas kind of amusement parks, kind of scary situations, you generally would like to know what you are getting into, won't you? So apply the same logic out here. Thank you very much for watching.